Without any question, the pandemic has brought real challenges and really illuminated a lot of disparities that we see in healthcare, whether those are chronic conditions like sickle cell anemia, or if it's focused on the pandemic COVID-19. There's no doubt that we have to improve the delivery system for our nation's most vulnerable. As we look towards solutions, not just combating the pandemic, but also addressing disparities in the long term, it seems clear to me that telehealth is a vital part of that entire the new apparatus that is necessary. Mr. Woods, you and I had a discussion last year, if you recall, during the Aging Committee about the importance of telemedicine, and I took your words to heart. And we've worked on bipartisan legislation called the Telehealth Modernization Act that will help stop that Medicare cliff from happening. Can you talk about the importance of such legislation, whether it's mine or others, that would help us focus attention on making permanent the telehealth delivery system? And I thank you for your leadership on this very important issue.
Thank you, Senator, and thanks for your leadership on that. It's great to be able to come to a testimony and see legislation come out of it like that, which is fully needed. You know, before COVID, we were running about 1,300 telehealth visits a month. That jumped up to about 130,000 in the middle of COVID, and now it's about hovering around 60 to 70,000. We could not have served not just the population in general, but the most vulnerable populations without that capabilities. And to your point, we're really concerned about the cliff, because this is now, I don't think we can put the genie back in the bottle in terms of how we delivered care before. And I spoke in my opening testimony about just our hospital at home. We treated 50,000 people in their home, and it was a telehealth capability. As we look to affordability of healthcare going forward, these are the things that we need to continue going forward past this pandemic. So your bill and what it includes, including looking at broadband access and rural communities and things of that nature, are really critical, and we applaud that, and we're the biggest advocate of that, because we know it works when as we've gone through this pandemic.
Well, Mr. Woods, you just touched on a very important point, that point being broadband, because if you have telehealth available connection in your home, I'm not sure how available that really is. And so the importance of us prioritizing as a part of an infrastructure conversation and a healthcare conversation, the broadband piece of the puzzle, I can't think of that as being less important than telehealth, because if you don't have the ability to have the connection, it just doesn't work. Am I missing anything there?
I think you're spot on, Senator. I think, and that's a concern. If you think about just a rural hospital that's hours away from a major city, and it doesn't have access, for example, the having physicians on staff that understood infectious diseases was really critical. We were able, because we have rural hospitals as well that are part of our system, be able to use our doctors in Charlotte, for example, and beam into those hospitals several hours away. But that's not available to all the communities. Hospital is one thing, but it's not available. And I think that should be a major national priority, because that's also about collecting data. We've had a lot of conversation about data, and it's important to really know how access is occurring in the most vulnerable communities, rural or the urban poor.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very, very comprehensive answer. My last question, since I'm running out of time, I'll kind of abbreviate it. Clinical trial diversity is incredibly important for us to be able to measure the effectiveness of the drugs, whether it's the COVID-19 vaccine or any other drug. And that is an area where I believe we need to focus more of our attention on finding ways to diversify those who are willing to participate in some of the trials. I'm not sure if it's geographic location, factors like distrust based on the long storied history as it relates to trusting the government when it comes to vaccinations and healthcare. Can you, Mr. Woods, with your experience, tell me what steps providers, researchers, and other stakeholders are taking, and which steps should policymakers like myself look at taking in order to increase clinical trial diversity?
Yeah, I mean, at the fundamental issue, I think, is an issue, and it's been referenced, is an issue of trust. Whether you're Republican or whether you're a person of color, there's some fundamental issues of trust that have to be addressed. And so we have abilities. We launched a Para tu Salud, so that we're speaking to Latinx people in their language so that we can explain that, for example, the Pfizer trials, I think, had about 40% of people of color in that trial, and we have to explain that. And I think part of the things that Senator, you and your colleagues could do is continue to hold certainly us accountable, but the FDA and others accountable, that to approve new treatments, they have to have a certain percentage of people of color and Native communities also as part of those trials.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. I know I'm out of time. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the extra 45 seconds.